The man discovers that even after dying for 15 years he is still revered by thousands. But his soul has been reborn into the body of a weak young man. Suddenly a piece of chalk flies toward him. Li Yunxiao, how dare you sleep during my class? Tell me how many methods are there to refine ordinary xuanbing? I stared at the teacher with intense focus. This young lady has such a stunning figure. If she were wearing a flame battle robe, she would look exactly like the Red Lotus War Emperor. But unfortunately she's just a martial king at the Four Symbols stage. She's too weak. Luo Yunsheng was startled by my gaze. But she quickly regained her composure and said sternly, "Didn't you hear my question? How many methods are there to refine xuanbing?" I nonchalantly scratched my ear. Such a stupid question. Of course there are 48. As soon as I said this the entire room burst into laughter. Haha, this guy is really delivering as expected. He truly lives up to the reputation of being the useless young master of the Li family. Look carefully. Lord Yangdi's textbook clearly says there are only 36 methods. Upon hearing this I couldn't help but laugh. That brat Yangdi, did he forget the 12 methods his own master Jiyu Feiyang created? While the classmates were laughing thinking I must have been too sleepy. Rambling nonsense. Luo Yunsheng on stage however was shocked and widened her eyes. Then she slammed her hand on the desk. Everyone shut up. What he said is correct. Lord Yangdi's master Jiyu Feiyang is not only ranked 3rd among the martial artists of Tianwu continent, but also a 9th grade great master refiner. He indeed created 12 unique refining methods, but they were too advanced so they weren't included in the book. As soon as this was said the entire room was in an uproar. Only Luo Yunsheng was secretly shocked. Li Yunxiao is known as a martial arts failure. Could he have a special talent in refining techniques? Thinking of this she continued to test him. Adding sky crystal silk during refining makes the materials easier to blend. So I ask you, why do some refinings fail when sky crystal silk is added? I replied indifferently. Sky crystal silk is water-based. If added to a fire-based refinement it will backfire. As soon as these words were said Luo Yunsheng suddenly realized. Then, let me ask you again. When refining brilliant gold, how do you eliminate the effect of sky crystal silk? So stupid. You treat sky crystal silk as an impurity, and then use refining essence to remove it, right? How is this possible? The refining issue that had troubled her for so long was unexpectedly solved by a so-called waste. At this point she lost all interest in teaching. After saying self-study she hurriedly ran out the door. Seeing this I didn't stay any longer. I went alone to the busiest street in the city center, the capital of Tianshui Kingdom, where that foolish disciple Yangdi was born. By the way, this statue must have been sculpted by him for me. At least that kid still has a bit of conscience. Thinking of this I decisively went to the Refiners Guild. This body after my rebirth is truly too weak. I haven't even opened a single meridian, so the most urgent task now is to find Yangdi and have him refine my physique. If all goes well, I should recover my strength within 10 years. At that time with the experience of 2 lifetimes, Li Yunlei will definitely break through that final barrier. However, when I entered the Refiners Guild, I was told that Yangdi had resigned as president 20 years ago. Seeing this I could only write down a list, and have the receptionist help me search for the materials on it. Unexpectedly a shout came from behind. Are you free right now? You have the time to help some random people look for materials. After saying this he crumpled the list into a ball and threw it away. What kind of nonsense is written on this list? It's completely nonsense. Seeing this I immediately became furious. Could casually write a prescription that's priceless. But now a first-level refiner is treating it as scrap paper. However, just as Jia Rong was about to leave, my voice suddenly came from behind him. Master Jia must have just taken the refiner's assessment, right? I see your fingers are dark and peeling. Clearly you used Yin Wind Stone to forcibly increase your fusion ability. But the mistake you made was continuing to use Blood Flame Orchid to counteract the side effects. Because once the two come into contact it will produce deadly poison. You must be feeling unbearable pain in the Tianshou and Meichang acupoints around noon recently. Now to save your life, you might have to chop off your right hand and self-destruct your dantian. I'm afraid the only option is to cut off your right hand and ruin your dantian. Jia Rong, who was struck at the core, trembled and slowly turned around. He immediately grabbed my shoulders and shook me vigorously. Hurry, quickly tell me the solution, otherwise you won't be able to leave here. But when he locked eyes with the person in front of him, he immediately withdrew his hand as if he had seen a ghost. What is going on here? Just a glance from him nearly made me lose control. Then Jia Rong completely disregarded his pride. He bowed 90 degrees and begged me earnestly. I, a small person, failed to recognize the mountain. Please my lord, forgive my past mistakes and tell me the way to resolve this. I gave him a cold look. Where is my list of materials? Hearing this, Jia Rong immediately picked up the prescription and handed it to me with both hands. The next second I unexpectedly blew a huge snot out while holding the prescription. Then I rolled it into a ball and threw it at Jia Rong's face. Remember this, my name is Li Yunxiao. Once you've gathered 10 of each material on this list, come find me at Jia Lan Academy. as I looked at the domineering young man in front of me. Ja Rong was so frightened that he trembled all over. It wasn't until I walked far away that he slowly regained his composure. Damn it, I was actually intimidated by a little brat. I'll let you enjoy yourself for a few more days. Once I get the antidote I'll make sure you wish you were dead. Meanwhile in the room of second-level alchemist Liang Wenyu, the receptionist explained what had just happened. Based on memory he recited the materials listed on the prescription. After reading it Liang Wenyu couldn't help but break into a cold sweat. Because some of the herbs listed even he had never heard of. But his intuition told him that this prescription would definitely create an extraordinary elixir. With that in mind he immediately instructed the receptionist, "If you see that young man again be sure to notify me right away." On the other side after I left the guild, I noticed the spatial ring the original owner was wearing. My surprise aside from a heavy sword that was somewhat useful. Everything else inside was utterly worthless. This thing looks fairly sturdy. I'll just make do with it until I've opened up 7 more meridians. I then hoisted the heavy sword and headed towards the academy. However just as I arrived at the main gate, I was blocked by 2 figures. It was Dufeng and Luo Jia, 2 of Lan Fei's lackeys. "Li Yanxiao, you've been quite the show-off in class today. Looks like it's time for us to teach you a lesson on behalf of Boss Lan." Seeing this my gaze turned cold and I was about to say something, but was suddenly shielded by 2 of my good friends. "Dufeng, Luo Jia, you're really going too far. If you have the guts, fight us." As soon as the words were out of my mouth the 2 of them charged forward together. Then they both threw a powerful punch. After separating the fat one rubbed his hand and said, "Both of us have the strength of 4 meridians. Did you really think I'd be afraid of you?" But just at that moment, a figure suddenly rushed out from the side. It then collided with the fat one again. With a snap, the fat one's handbone shattered on impact. The fat one flew several meters backward before finally stopping. "Sorry about that. I accidentally used too much force. I just wanted you to feel the difference between 4 and 5 meridians." As the 2 of them smiled and approached me again, a graceful figure suddenly blocked their way. It was Princess Qin Rushui of the Tianshui Kingdom. "If anyone dares to bully Li Yanxiao again, they will be my enemy Qin Rushui." Seeing the princess stepping in personally, they had no choice but to turn around and leave. But at that moment I suddenly shouted, "Hey, did I say you could leave?" Then I slowly walked forward with my sword. "I don't mean anything else. I just want you to feel the difference between 0 meridians and 5 meridians." Luo Feng was about to take action but Du Feng stopped him. "Dealing with scum like you," he said before turning into a blur and charging toward me at high speed. But just as everyone thought I was doomed, a piercing scream suddenly echoed through the air. I saw Du Feng's palm was just 2 inches from my face. But my lower body swiftly kicked him, striking his vital spot. The excruciating pain made him almost faint. He curled up on the ground, twitching uncontrollably. Seeing this, Luo Feng immediately exploded in rage. He swung his fists at me with lightning speed, while shouting that he would avenge Du Feng. The fat one and Chen Zhen rushed to help, but I calmly crossed my heavy sword in front of me. The next moment there was a thud. Luo Jia's fist landed right on the blade of my sword. The searing pain twisted his face in agony, but I had no intention of letting him go. I immediately followed up with another painful kick. In that moment he felt like he had lost the most important thing. He and Du Feng became the most eye-catching guys on the street. At this moment the onlookers were completely stunned. Li Yanxiao is really lucky, isn't he? He managed to defeat 2 top experts with 0 meridians. I then slammed my heavy sword into the ground. What a joke. If I can't even deal with a few martial students, I might as well just crash into a wall and die. When I got back to the dormitory, I immediately struck a strange posture. It will probably take another 3 days to complete the collection. I can make good use of this time to refine my body and muscles. And that technique called the strongest martial emperor Ao Chong Kong's secret skill. The Beishan body refining technique. At this moment it existed within my soul. In my previous life I accidentally obtained the original cultivation method, but before I could practice it I died. Now let me see what makes this supreme and powerful Beishan body refining technique so special.